Hello and welcome to the Unity Community Podcast. This is a place where our church family can hear real stories of life change and discover how God is working through our ministries and missionaries, both here and around the world. From conversations with our staff and leaders to testimonies from our people, we're pulling back the curtain on what God is doing in and through Unity Church. Thanks for listening. Let's grow closer to the Lord as we grow closer one to another.
Welcome to the very first episode of the Unity Community Podcast. I am Tim DeCresie, and for the next few weeks, we're going to spend some time getting to know the people who serve and lead our church. These conversations aren't about sermons or teaching. They're about stories, who they are and how God has shaped them and how they found their way to unity. And there's no better place to begin than with the people we see week to week. Today, we're sitting down with lead pastor Jeff and his wife Jennifer. We know them as leaders, but today we want to take some time to hear their story and get to know them a little better. Jeff and Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. My wife Jennifer is a whole lot more nervous about this than I am, but we're honored to be a part of the first podcast.
All right, well, let's just jump right into it. I think we want to start with where you grew up, your early life before you got into ministry, and tell us about how it was to be a kid.
Well, I think most of our church family know that I grew up on a farm, a tobacco farm. I often like to joke that it was tobacco money that sent me to Bible college to be a preacher. But grew up on a hot tobacco farm here in Greenville, North Carolina, all my life. And Jennifer, her growing up years were a little bit different.
Yeah, I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. My dad was a pastor. And when I was 8 years old, we moved to Beaufort, North Carolina. And we stayed there until I graduated. So I consider Beaufort as my growing up place.
But even though we grew up in different places, our home lives were similar, very similar. I mean, my mom had me in church when I was 2 weeks old and never missed a Sunday thereafter. Jennifer, being in a pastor's home, she pretty much was in church every time the doors were open. But then again, so was I.
Yes, and my parents taught me at home. The church taught me. I went to a Christian school, so I was trained to know how to serve the Lord. So I have a lot of responsibility to help train other people.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference maybe between your home life and mine is that while my dad was moral and he treated mom so well and treated us kids well and worked hard to provide, my dad did not know Christ. But he never prevented us. He never prevented mom from taking us to church. He just never went with us, maybe once or twice a year at max. And Jennifer's dad, he was leading his home in a way that my dad couldn't because he didn't know Christ.
And how they lived at church is how they lived at home. So they were very godly parents.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff, we know you have two siblings, Susan and Rex. But Jennifer, we don't really know that about you.
I have a brother. He came first, Michael. And then I came next. And then I have 3 sisters after me. My brother lives in Nashville. I have a sister that lives in Tennessee, one in Kinston. And, of course, Rex, Jeff's brother, married my youngest sister, Karen, and they live here in Greenville.
Now, it's possible that somebody listening to this just turned their head and said, what did she say? For those who might not know, my brother Rex married Jennifer's youngest sister, Karen. And my brother Rex, he gets a good little abuse from me in my preaching. You don't hear as much about my sister. And most everybody thinks of my sister being so sweet and just, kind and nice, but there was another side to her. She will deny this, I guarantee you. But I've got marks on my back from when she bit me and drew blood. And I just want that to be on the first podcast record.
And I guess you and I actually got Karen and Rex together because Rex would come over when Karen was babysitting Jenna, and they would kind of date each other, and that's how they kind of got together.
Yeah. And what most folks probably don't know is Rex actually dated another one of her sisters first before he dated and ended up marrying Karen.
Okay.
We might should cut that part.
Well, since you've told us about, how Rex and Karen met, well, let's get into how you all met.
So we met at Bible College in Nashville, Tennessee.
Which is Welch.
It's now Welch College. And I had a girlfriend back home when I first got on campus. And with the girlfriend back home, I nonetheless am in my dorm room, and there's a guy that I don't know how in the world he wound up in my room. He wasn't my roommate, but a guy was sitting in my room and just talking about this girl that he used to date, and he's talking about this characteristic and this characteristic and this, and I'm thinking, boom, 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 this is somebody I would like to meet for myself. And then lo and behold, however many hours or a day or two later, I actually met this Jennifer Wiggs that this guy was talking about. And boom, man, she checked another box. She looked good.
Well, I met Jeff. I ate at the same table he did in the cafeteria at college. And he was cutting up jokes and just being so funny. And I just thought, I really like this guy. And I couldn't figure out why he wouldn't ask me out. And come to find out he was dating someone else. So it took a little bit before we ever got together.
Yeah, I got my act together. It took me a little while. But I finally took care of things back home and asked Jennifer out. And the rest is now 40 plus years of history.
What year did you get married?
We got married May 25th, 1985.
Okay, so what were those early years of marriage? Because that was pre coming to Unity. So what was that like?
Well, Jeff was in school for 5 years full time when we first got
First
married.
5 years, yeah.
And he worked at UPS. I taught school, but they were good years. I can remember we didn't have a lot of money, but we always, on Friday night, we would go to Arby's and eat. And we used our coupons. Still use our coupons.
Well, in those days, if you had a Bob Jones ID card, there were certain places on the back that you could get a discount, and Arby's was one of them.
And we ate there, and we went to a store. I can't remember the name of it, but we always...
Big Lots.
Big Lots.
Yep. Well, and we also, there was the grocery store chain back in those days. Bilo. And they had these frozen pizzas. They were like 29, 39 cents on sale. We would get those, and then we would go to the salad bar, and we would get various toppings to put on it and make it of a little bit more legit pizza. We did, I don't know telling how many dozens of those we ate.
Yeah.
But we were happy.
Yeah.
So how was being in ministry kind of shaped your life with your children? And
Boy, it would be interesting to know how they would answer that question. I think early on, if I were to be just totally transparent, you might find yourself sometimes trying to keep your kids behaving in a certain way so that you can keep up certain appearances. And we might have been maybe a little harder on them here or there along the way than maybe we had to be. But you know, when you're new parents and when you're with your first child, you've not done this before. And probably Jenna, our oldest, would say that we changed up a few things along the way for Joanna's benefit. And of course, Jake was right smack in the middle. But thankfully, I'm confident that they would say they had a good upbringing.
Well, the church was good to them.
Yeah.
They never, I don't remember ever them come to us saying, so-and-so said this. And I want to credit you, Jeff. He was always available whenever they had sporting events. He never put the church before our kids. And I really think that makes a difference, too, with the way they are toward church.
Well, I think I tried my best in the right way to take advantage of the flexibility that ministry can offer. And so for years and years, I would get up very early, be in the office early so that I could, take off in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, and maybe go to a out-of-town ball game and stuff. But, again, I think all our kids had very good church experience at Unity. It's the only church all three of them knew all their growing up years. And of course, as some of our people know, Jake went to Bible college and then came back and came on staff here at Unity. And I have thanked the church publicly more than once about how evidently they did such a good job of treating us so that my son could be in this church all his grown up years, go off to Bible college, and then felt led to come back and serve here for 8 years. That has been one of the warmest experiences of my pastoral heart's life.
Well, let's rewind a little bit because we talk about your kids growing up here at Unity. Well, how did you all end up being called to Unity? How did that work out in the grand plan?
Yeah, so I was in grad school at Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina. We were having Bible conference in the spring of that year, probably in March, if I remember correctly. I came home and Jennifer had taken a message from the church secretary of Unity, which I actually knew because she was a member at Temple Church, one of our sister churches here in town. And the note basically said to call her back because this church, Unity in Greenville, was looking for a youth pastor. And my first thought was, well, I'm not looking for youth ministry. I'm wrapping up 8 years, 4 undergrad, 4 grad. I didn't just spend 8 years of my life to do student ministry, to be a youth pastor. No offense, but that was my first impression. But we made the phone call, and come to find out, the former chancellor, president of the Bible College, had given my name to his son-in-law, Gary Maines, who was the pastor of Unity at the time. And so we talked on the phone, and long story short, we came, and it was, for those of our church family that remember our old church where our little nursery complex used to be. I mean, I'm standing right inside the little doorway to that 2 or 3 room area. And it was not an audible voice, but it was as if God had just so clearly impressed upon me, where you are is where I want you to be. In other words, where you're standing here at Unity Church is where I want you to be. And so the church voted. The vote was excellent. And next thing I know, in June of 1990, we are coming to Unity, and I became Unity's first, quote unquote, second man. I was the youth pastor.
And Jenna was 9 months.
She was 9 months old.
So we're very blessed that all our kids were able to grow up in the same church, in the same town.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom and dad lived right across the street from you when you came here. Jennifer, where were your parents?
Well, my dad's a pastor, so he was pastoring in Newbern, Bruce Chapel, Free Will Baptist. Right now, they live right next door to us because they're aging and need help.
Well, when you say next door, it's actually they're a part of our home.
Yeah.
We built an addition and had them move in with us.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first came to Greenville, both parents were pretty close.
Oh, yeah, we were very blessed. During the holidays, we didn't have to travel a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we, all these years, very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you say God is good.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He just puts us where he wants us to be and looks out for us.
Yes.
So let's kind of get into the ministry part of your time here at Unity. And you've been here over 30 years.
Over 35 now.
Over 35. So let's talk about, your time here at Unity and what has that meant to you all?
So, it has just been the joy of my life. There have been hard times, absolutely. There have been times when I was discouraged. I honestly, by God's amazing grace, I do not think I have ever been depressed. I have never been depressed, but I've been very discouraged at times. But even again, by God's grace, my discouragement times only lasted for maybe a few days, a week or two at the most. And it has just been joyful. For those who might not know, after I was the youth pastor for 9 months, Gary, the lead pastor at that time, called me into his office and said that he was going to resign. And he said, and I'm going to tell the church that you're the man for the job. And so that's when all of the grad school studying from my perspective to be a lead pastor, it all fell into play. It made sense. And so since I had already been there, even though I was green behind the ears, no pastoral experience when I came to Unity, they had gotten to know me for that year. And so the vote for me to become the lead pastor was, pretty straightforward. And again, that's been over 35 years ago.
So for people that may not know, like new members who've just come to this building,
Yeah.
they see Unity at 700 members or, what we have. Go back 35 years, Unity was much smaller.
Much smaller. I can remember vividly 150 was a good Sunday for us. I mean, anytime we had over 150, man, that was a good day. And then 175, and then 200, and then, oh my, the Lord just, he was so good to us, showed favor. And I can remember, just like it was yesterday, sitting on the stage. Back in those days, I sat on the stage, and I don't do that anymore. But I remember sitting on the stage and looking out and thinking, my goodness, we are full. And for that year, we averaged 300. And I want to think that was around 1992 or 3. And then I thought to myself, what are we going to do? At that point in my life, the idea of churches having 2 services, very, very few services were doing that. That was totally a new concept to me. But I investigated, I bought some materials and read up on it, and then presented it to the church. And it was met with some resistance, but we felt like that was the way we should go. We went to 2 services. We bought mobile units and put classes in those mobile units, and the Lord kept blessing. And we went from 2 services and 1 Sunday school hour in between to having 2 services and 2 life group hours that was simultaneous, and all of that. Man, it was a learning curve. The learning curve was steep, but I think we exercised just enough faith that the Lord said, you know what, I'm going to bless. And he did. And so the church just kept growing until we came to the point where, okay, we first, for those who might not know, we first tried to buy land that was beside us. It was owned by 5 siblings, and they had no interest in selling the property. So that's when we started looking elsewhere, and we started entertaining the possibility of relocating, which is exactly what we ended up doing.
So God has been good. I think about those early years being, in the 90s, like you were saying, 150. I remember teaching children's church and going, we had 12 kids today. Wow, man, we were like busted at the seams.
Yeah.
So that is not the case now.
No.
We are well over 12 kids in children's church.
Absolutely.
So God is... Well, Jennifer, let me, we've talked a lot to Jeff about his ministry, but you also play a vital ministry here at Unity as the pastor's wife, and there's certainly eyes on you. So over the 30 plus years you've been at Unity, tell us your experience as a pastor's wife and how you fit into all of that.
Well, first, I grew up in a pastor's home, so I watched my mom as a pastor's wife, and she set a very good example. And so I became a pastor's wife. I was probably 26, maybe, when I became one. And I can tell you that it has been a pleasure. The Lord has blessed Jeff's ministry, and the women in this church have come beside me and encouraged me and loved me. And I know there's been times where I've had to learn, how to be a better pastor's wife and maybe not say certain things or do different things, but I've never felt so discouraged or anything. I know Jeff has a big part in that too, because he's just always come home and spend time with me. I don't ever feel like church was his first love. I mean, God was, and then me, and then the church. And so being a pastor's wife, I've always enjoyed it. And I would encourage any other ladies that were thinking about it to be one too. So I can't say anything bad about it.
Well, while we're on that part of ministry, how can women here at Unity get plugged in?
Oh, we got a wonderful ministry now, women's ministry now. That
Women's ministry coordinator.
Yeah.
It's Terry DeCresie.
Terry DeCresie. And she has come along and just opened it wide open for the women's. I mean, they have no excuse of not being and getting involved. There's newsletters, there's emails, there's texts, and
well, and there's just a variety of things for ladies with different interests.
We're having bunko night this Saturday, crafts. I mean, there's so much for ladies to do now. and all they had to do was just look and see what interests them. So I just think I'm thankful that Terry has come along to make that ministry so much better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we appreciate your example that you have set over all those years and your kind words. And I don't know that I've ever heard you say anything negative. So that is very commendable of you. And we appreciate your faithfulness.
Thank you.
And, for putting up with Jeff.
Well, and I tell you, I mean, as most people could easily imagine, I mean, there are times when pastors resign and move on to another church because his wife was not happy. And that has never even remotely been the situation with me. Jennifer has been a phenomenal source of encouragement. She has never done anything that added to any discouragement that I might have been facing here or there. She's been wonderful. So the wonderful Jennifer that people have this impression of, it's legit. That is who she is.
I do want to say that I really enjoy the children's ministry. I have taught kids for over 35 years, and it's neat to see them get saved, and now they have their own families, and I'm teaching their kids. And so I really have enjoyed that ministry.
Okay, and that reminds me, that is one of those incredible benefits. You cannot communicate it to guys who are freshmen or even seniors at Bible college. Man, the beauty that we've been able to enjoy of being somewhere for 35 plus years. Man, so as we're recording this, I'm doing a funeral today, and I want to think, Jennifer and I were talking about it, it's like my 6th or 7th funeral of that extended family. And so when you're able to be somewhere for as long as the Lord has allowed me to be here, man, you can maybe rejoice with a baby being born, then see that kid get saved and get baptized, maybe marry that kid, and then have that kid have kids, and then maybe do a funeral for their grandparents, and then maybe later on their parents. And that whole just doing life with generations has just been awesome. I thank the Lord for it.
When you think about from those early years till now and look at that timeline, what is your overall impression of how God has blessed your ministry as lead pastor of Unity from then until now?
Well, man, I mean, Lamentations talks about how the Lord's mercies are new each and every day, and therefore we cry out, great is his faithfulness. So that's just what my heartbeat reverberates with. God has been faithful. So we have not done gimmicks through the years. Oh yeah, we've had big days, and we've had, revival services at times and stuff like that. But man, whether it's from the pulpit or whether it's with the youth group or the kids or the preschoolers or the nursery, we have tried our best to be true to the book. We have let God's word guide us, and we've tried our best to have worship services that are biblically based, sermons and lessons that are biblically based. And so God has just we have found him to be faithful to his word. We've tried to take him at his word, and he has been true to his word.
Well, I want to say thank you, because over those 30 plus years, the one thing that has kept me at Unity and, my wife, my family, is your faithfulness to teaching the word and that expository preaching. And it's just been fantastic.
So, I mean, through the years, there have been times when it seems as if people with all sorts of difficulties, hardships, burdens, hurts, pain have found Unity. And I've likened us to a spiritual hospital. And so I would like to think that while sometimes it is not easy, ministry can be extremely hard. I mean, there have been any number of people that have come into our doors and found their needs ministered to, met. And so I would like to think that that's still the case. I would like to think that, man, when people think about Unity, you can experience true community. We have grown significantly, but I hear people say that, we still have a small church feel. We try to emphasize life groups, both in people's homes and here on Sundays and at various other times during the week. And I just feel like there's a vibrancy here at our church. And even that vibrancy, it seems as though that vibrancy has only been maybe at its highest levels just in the last year or two. And just an excitement. I think that, no, I've not taken a poll. I don't know what the percentages would be if we did take a poll, but I feel like the vast majority of the people that call Unity home, they look forward to Sunday mornings. It's a time of celebrating the resurrection of Christ, not just on Easter, but the fact that every Lord's Day we are celebrating the fact that He is alive and He is our Christ. He's our Messiah. He's our Savior. He's the lover of our souls. And I just believe our folks, they look forward to coming on Sundays. I can remember my kids wanting to come to church, wanting to come to youth group. And I've often told Jennifer and others, I didn't care why they wanted to come as long as they wanted to come. And I believe
It was those youth workers.
absolutely, yeah, you and Terry. And thank you, by the way, y'all did. You sincerely, y'all had a powerful impact on my kids and a whole lot of other kids. But I just think there's a genuine, authentic excitement about being a believer and being a part of our church. I really believe that.
I just want to thank you both for sharing your story. We're grateful for you both and just what you mean to the church family. It's been a pleasure to hear these stories and get to know you both better. Before we close, I'd love to take a moment to pray for you. Father, thank you for Jeff and Jennifer, for their faithfulness, their obedience, and the way you've shaped their lives and used them to help support ours. Continue to strengthen them, guide them, and fill them with wisdom and joy as they serve you and this church. May your grace be evident in every season ahead. Amen.
Thanks,
you.
Tim. Thanks for hosting us.
No problem. Until next time, like you tell us, Jeff, go and tell.
Thanks so much for listening to the Unity Community Podcast. If today's conversation encouraged you, we'd love for you to take one or more next steps. Join us this Sunday morning for worship at 9 or 10:30. Get connected to a life group and or find a place to serve. You can learn more about Unity and how to get plugged in by visiting the links in the show notes. So until next time, let's grow closer to the Lord as we grow closer one to another.